Hello, everyone, my warriors. Welcome back. Today I'm drinking my own mead that I have brewed out of a horn. So, thank you all for joining me. First up, my first message for tonight is that my Patreon went live. So, that's exciting. And I figured that what I'm going to do there is just going to upload my books. And I really wanted to talk about adventuring and writing and the way that those two things have made my life what it is. I'm a writer, I'm an adventurer. Those are the keys to who West the Wizard is, or whatever the hell I'm pretending to be today. Hi. Adventuring, traveling, hitchhiking around Europe and the Sahara and going to Iceland and Peru and trekking and seeing incredible things that no one else has seen. All of these things, seeing them from the perspective of an adventurer, not just some tourist. Not that there's anything wrong with being a tourist. I've been a tourist and I enjoyed it. Whatever. But the difference being that when you're an adventurer, just the way you delve into the world is different. It is substantively different and you can feel it. And the way all of this affects my writing. I write. It's what I love. I've been doing it literally since I was 15, my 15th birthday. I started tapping away in my computer and writing books. And I absolutely loved it. I loved every moment of it. I have written 10 books in my life. One of them is published, self published to Amazon, and I put the link up on one of my previous videos. And the first person who ever bought it was my mommy. That was really nice. And yeah, it's sold maybe like 10 copies, maybe. It's one of my other videos. I'm not going to put a link to it in this description because I'm going to put a link to my Patreon. And in my Patreon, I'm going to start just posting my own books. They are written and edited by me, and there's no other review process but for me. I am the one who makes them. I am the one who decides how they get edited, how they get filed down, what goes into them finally, and whether or not there are any changes. And if there's something that I don't feel would serve the story, it doesn't go in. If there's something that I feel that needs to be in the story for it to be the story that I want it to be, it goes in. There's no editorial process where a publisher says to me, "Oh, I think we'd meet more viewership if you were to make this character more like that." No, to me, it's it's my work, it's my art, for lack of a better word, and I know what it's supposed to look like. I know what it's supposed to be, and that's it. And so I have, for the last 3 days, I've just been posting books onto there. I've written 10, five are good, maybe. So I'm going to only post the five ones that are good or any further ones that are good. And I want the rest of this video, honestly, just to be a collection of stories about my adventures. I'm going to start, well, I'm going to start with probably the most, between friends of mine and stories that I've told around the campfire, the most well known story about me. You all get to be in on it. In 2013, I was in the Sahara and I was alone. There was the city next to me, but I didn't want to stay in the city because the Sahara was right there. The endless rolling dunes of sand, exactly as you picture it in the movies or as is seen in the movies. But one thing that no movie will ever touch on is the unutterable and incredibly profound quiet of the desert. It's maddening. It is so quiet. You're alone. You are truly alone. And that is a remarkable thing. It's a remarkable thing. So, I'm out in the desert, alone. It's great. It's quiet, blah, blah. I'm walking back towards the city. And as I'm walking down a particularly large sand dune, I hear barking. So I look up and I see like 15 wild dogs barking and running at me excitedly. And immediately I just turn around and start running back up the sand dune as fast as I can go. And if you've ever tried to run up a sand dune, you know how fast that is. I get to the top of it and there's this rocky plateau, and I'm sprinting. I am sprinting. You have no idea how fast you can run until you've been chased by dogs in the desert. And I realize there's absolutely no way I'm going to be able to outrun these things. And I stop, pick up a rock and a bottle, and I turn to face my pursuers. And they're about, I'd say, 20 feet away from me, and they're stopped. They're looking at me. And I've got my bottle and my rock, and I'm staring at them, and I'm ready. I was ready. I was ready to just get torn apart, just disappear. I was ready to die, face my own death. And the dogs turned around and walked away. Whether it was because I wasn't behaving like prey or they were only marking out their territory, or they didn't want to eat me after all. Who knows? Either way, I stood there in utter and total just revelation of life. Just recognition that, oh my God, I'm alive. I am alive. And I feel life. And every day since then has felt like a gift. That moment when I was 21 has changed every other moment of my life, colored the impact of everything else that's happened. When you've looked into your own death and you know that you would be unafraid, that is a powerful thing. It's a very powerful thing. Another time, I remember arriving at a village in Italy up in the Apennine Mountains at midnight on a Sunday. And everything was closed. Literally everything was closed. It was just me. And so there was literally no way I'm going to find anywhere to stay. But out in a field, in one of the surrounding farmers' fields, I find a piece of farming equipment, which I pack snow around, and I make myself a little igloo. And so I camp out there the night in an igloo. And, and that was a ton of fun. It was really, really cool. I stayed there 2 nights actually. Frigid the entire time. I had a sleeping bag, but oh my, it was incredibly cold. And the just the level of ability that it felt like I was capable of, because just to be able to drop and make an igloo like that, because you're in need, because it's midnight and it's in a blizzard and there's no other option. Empowering. My advice to all of you is you should travel, adventure. Even if you don't go to other countries, find somewhere in your own local area and experience it as an adventurer. Think of yourself as an adventurer. Go and adventure and see things that no one else would see because they don't know to approach it the way that you would approach it. Get on the table. Go wild. Get into the wild, into the wilderness. Go savage in your own lands. Experience the world around you with this weird sense of adventure, the way that I do, the way that I like to pretend that I do, the way that I like to talk myself up to doing. I'm an adventurous soul. I'm an adventurous person, and I enjoy every moment of it. And regardless, it's all still a bit of an act. I don't care. It's fun. It's life, and I get to live it, and I get to share it with amazing people. So I'm sure more stories of my adventures are to come. There was the time that I was swimming in Hawaii and I got like this close to a sea turtle right in my face. Didn't touch it. I did not touch it. I respected nature that much. And oh God, I was chased again by dogs in Italy. Then I saw the door in Budapest. If you know the door, you know the door. Then I was running up the mountains of Peru and standing naked in a waterfall in Iceland. And all of these things have influenced my writing. And another suggestion I have for you, on top of adventuring, because adventuring is great, another suggestion I have for you is to write. Write a book, write a novel, write a play, write a screenplay, write a short story, write poetry, write something. One of my favorite quotes comes from one of my favorite authors, a guy called Brandon Sanderson, who did the Mistborn trilogy, The Way of Kings, Stormlight Chronicles, Elantris, Skyward. Brilliant author. Absolutely love his work. One of my favorite things that he says in one of his university lectures that he was teaching is no one ever asks a group of guys playing, basketball in a park, ask them, so when are you going to go pro? I don't have to write to get published. I write for you. I'm not really seeking publication. People always ask me about this, but and then my answer usually is that I like writing more than I care about getting published. I just love to write. It's what I love doing. I write every day. And pretty soon here, I'm going to come up on 200,000 words in my new book. And I mean tonight. 200,000 words. It's going to be the longest book I've ever written by far. And I really want to get into some synopses of the books that are currently on my Patreon right now because they are, all of them, I think, pretty damn fun. I'm going to make one of them public, completely free. And this is the one I'm going to start with. It is about vampires. I love so many different things. I love horror. I think horror is just a really interesting, fertile ground to storytell from. I mean, don't get me wrong. I also love, fantasy and mystery and historical fiction, all these things. But horror, for some reason, I just had these sparks of idea. And so I have written 3 horror novels. I mean, there's more to come. I know there's more to come. But the vampire one, what it's about is a vampire in Victorian London who is experiencing high society and all this haute couture crap. And he is trying to cure himself of vampirism. And that book, really, the real seed of it, what it was about was, uh, it was about the underlying savage nature of all living things, and the cage that civility is, how it keeps you trapped, and how the savage nature from within you will always seek to express itself. Ended up being way better than I thought it was going to be. I had all these, I just, honestly, the idea came to me in a dream 12 years ago or more. And I woke up and I was like, that was awesome. And so I started collaborating little ideas with myself and putting more interesting things and notes in it. And then eventually I just knew I had to write it. And so I took the better part of the half of last year and I wrote it. And it ended up being way better than I thought it was going to be. So that one's for free. That one's just all yours. But the other ones that you actually have to subscribe for, one of them is called The Feeding. The Feeding. And it is about a knight who returns home from the First Crusade, just riddled with guilt and PTSD over what he did during the fall of Jerusalem. And his small Norman village is being terrorized by a horrifying demon. And it worms its way into his mind through cognitive dissonance and his desire for self-improvement, which is another element that I'm very interested in. So yeah, right, what you know, right? And oh my god, you watch a man lose his mind and get corrupted completely. That was another fun one to write. You might have noticed a bit of a trend here. I love history, always have. So history is one of the big influences in all my writing, and I hope it comes through. I hope it comes through in a big way. I've always tried to make my writing as historically accurate as possible, and whew, it's been a lot of fun. Just researching for these books has been. I love to research. I just love to learn. As well, you should, as well, anyone should. But yeah, of course, blah blah blah. We all love to learn, but researching for these books has been one of the highlights of my life. easily. And a life of wonders. Researching for books and then writing these books is something that I will mention as being one of my favorite moments in my entire life. And the third one that's on there right now, and I believe you me, there are going to be more. The third one that's on there right now is called Exploit of the Hidalgo. And it is, again, just spark of inspiration from the gods. It was so interesting writing, learning about, I mean, so okay, it's about a group of conquistadors trekking through the Peruvian jungle in search of El Dorado, meanwhile being hunted by a deranged spider goddess. And it is terrifying. I mean, I've written them all, they're all horror novels, all three of these. The Exploit of the Hidalgo, the real villain is their greed for gold. I'm going to get into deep into how and why and what elements I was using to write these books later on, just because I really enjoy my own process, and I think it is a fascinating thing to share with people, and maybe it'll be useful for you for when you're writing, which I think you should. I said that again, I'll say it again. I love it. So gold, greed, and then the spider in the jungle as she's hunting these poor condemned men. Think you like that one. And the feeding, but the knight, the brave and bold Sir Roderick Williamson, who was a knight in the army. Ugh, that one was so much fun to write. And then Through Blood, the vampire one. I hope these books are inspiration, right? I know so many people who want to write a book. Everyone wants to write a book, but no one knows how. I, if you want me to write, or if you want me to make a video series, I'd have to do a series probably about what my process is towards writing and the way that I go about it. Feel free to let me know. But I love it. I'm going to do that anyway. I'm totally going to do that anyway. I'm so, I'm so sold on the idea of sharing what I love most with the people around me, with everyone. And you're around me. You are definitely around me. So I want to share what I have with you. Okay. Yeah, that's all I got for tonight. Adventure and writing. More of these stories to come forevermore. Obviously, I'm not done by any stretch, by any measure, by any memes. 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 Maybe it was too much mead. Anyway, thank you all so much for joining in with me. Check out my Patreon or don't. Who cares? There's going to be a free book for there, even if you do check it out. I love you all. And you know I do. Love is the answer. Always has been.